Y'all want it with the south side. Y'all want it with the south side. Ain't none. Y'all want it with the south side. Crank it. Y'all want it with the south side.
I leave your ass crispy like some frosted flakes. What you call a sneaky nigga, man? Jake the Snake. And on the street got something to say until they get sprayed in the face with a K-like mace. I don't a fan, nigga. Let's get that straight. I was netted by a preacher, so my mom pushed weight.
Woohoo! Man, oh man, I could see those highlights all day. Ladies and gentlemen, you see the man on the screen. We welcome in a man who reigns 7 feet tall and is used to dunking on people, whether it's on the court, Charles Barkley in the studio, or in your fantasy football draft room. This 14-year NBA vet is an all-time leader in block shots at North Carolina University, an NBA champion, and most importantly, he's my favorite person to go watch shoot free throws. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome in the man you see looking dapper on your TV screen, talking basketball for CBS, ESPN, and NBA TV. It is Brendan Haywood. What's going on, man?
What's going on, man? Good to be here with you guys, man. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Hey, we're pumped to have you, man. We are gigantic Wizards fans. Grew up like the prime time of watching basketball was the Big Three era with you and, of course, Etan Thomas and all the great guys you guys had there. Watching those highlights takes me back. Do you miss your playing days at all, or are you kind of happily retired at this point?
It's a little bit of both. You know, when I'm watching big-time playoff games, especially now that I call games, going to games, seeing that environment, that fire that the fans have, and feeling the energy of the building, I miss that. But, man, the hard work that goes into being an NBA player now that I'm 42, I don't want any parts of that, and I'm happily retired. I don't, like when I watch these guys, they put so much work into their games, into their bodies, that I'm not at the point in my life where I could do that anymore. My knees couldn't take it.
Brendan, I got to be open and honest with you for a second. You are my favorite person to watch shoot free throws because I used to adapt what you did, and I liked when you brought the elbow and tucked it in.
Oh, the elbow lock.
yes, I mimicked that all the time on our Nerf hoop when we were kids, and I said if I ever talk to Brendan Haywood, I got to bring that up. How did you get introduced to the elbow lock?
Man, guy by the name of Dave Hopler was a shooting instructor, and he noticed whenever I would shoot the basketball, I had been taught to shoot a bad form when I was a kid, so my elbow was always out. So he started telling me to lock my elbow in mentally, and I just started doing that. And that year, I shot a great percentage at the free throw line, but, man, it looked funny, man, so I stopped doing it, and my free throw percentage dropped. I should have done it my whole career.
I loved it, man. I was sad when you stopped doing it. It was so unique. Like you said, it became a really good free throw shooter with that. But of course, I mean, I could ask you a million Wizards questions. It's not an interview today. The one thing I do have to ask you before we get to fantasy football conversation, the Michael Ruffin play. I have to ask you about it because it's the thing I remember the most, I think, of anything. Do you remember that play?
Man, Mike Ruffin's my guy, man. Don't do Mike Ruffin like that.
I love Michael Ruffin.
Yeah. I remember that play. It's such a weird play. Mo Peterson ends up hitting a three when Mike Ruffin tried to throw the ball up in the air, but the ball slips. It's a crazy play. Mm-hmm. And what most people don't realize is Mo Peterson didn't play at all until that moment in the game. And after he hit the three, they subbed him out right as they went into overtime. Like that was like his only shot. But it was a weird moment, weird play where Mike Ruffin made an incredible mistake. And he's such a prideful man. That kind of stuck with him for a couple of weeks, man. He didn't feel good about that one.
Did they tell him next time, throw the ball away, not just up in the air?
Nah, everybody understood, man. Mike took it kind of hard, man. So it's one of those blooper plays, one of those plays that you're going to see forever. Certain basketball plays live on forever on Twitter, YouTube. Sometimes it's good stuff. Sometimes you live in infamy, and that's where Mike's going to have to live on this one.
Yeah,
The underrated
a,
part of that play is Caron Butler is aware and just stands there and plays the best defense without fouling. And I just think it's a testament to how difficult that shot was by Mo Pete, because he's missing that 99 out of 100 times.
He hadn't even played all game long. Like Mo Pete hadn't played, came in the bench, just came off the bench, caught the ball, launched a three, and bam. So yeah, it's one of the wildest finishes you're ever going to see to a basketball game.
For sure. And Michael Ruffin definitely was one of the hard-nosed, hard-working players. Wizards fans remember his 10 rebounds were so scrappy, especially a guy that's playing the center position, a lot of times a little undersized, had a lot of heart. We could definitely see that on TV. But Brendan Haywood, we brought you on here not to talk about your career in basketball. We brought you on to talk about fantasy football. And
big time fantasy football player. I'm an addict.
Yeah, we go on Twitter and I see you quote tweet Fantasy Pros, and you say you're doing a ton of leagues, and like this is one of the things we talk about on the show like crazy is fantasy football. So I got to ask you, when did you first get into fantasy football? Was it when you were playing, or was it when you retired?
No, I actually got into it probably around my last year, like my second to last year in DC. So I've probably been in the league like 7-8 years, and me and one of my friends, we used to just do a little weird thing where we would like just bet the lines of the games against each other every Sunday. And so he was like, one day he was like, hey man, we should do something different this year. We should, instead of just betting each other, we should just create a fantasy league and see if we like that. So it started off with me and my best friend just wanting to compete with each other. And we just got some more people in it, and I just became addicted to it. Every Sunday, it just became something that I had to do. I love doing it. So I've probably been playing fantasy football since about 2009.
So do you have a favorite format? Is it PPR? Is it Superflex? Tight end premiums? Do you got a favorite?
Yeah, I love the standard PPR league. I've been in tight end premium before, Superflex, Dynasty. All of them are fun. Standard leagues, all of them are fun. But I think like the 12-team PPR, that's probably to me the overall best setting.
Yeah, it's the classic PPR. I think it doesn't get too crazy with settings. I'm with you 100% on that. Have you done your research for these drafts this year yet?
Oh, I'm ready. I'm ready.
All right.
My leagues are competitive. My leagues are competitive. Me and my friends, we talk big shit. I don't know if we're allowed to curse on here, but we talk that trash to each other. So like I'm ready. I've done my research. I got like my guys that I love up top, my mid-round receivers. I know what my strategy is going to be. So yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready for it.
All right. Well, so I mean, if you're going to be talking big shit with your friends, then you got to talk the shit with us, and you got to tell us who are some of your favorite guys this year, some sleepers or breakouts you got, maybe a bust you're avoiding in some drafts. Who are some guys you're targeting this year?
This depends on where we're talking about in the draft. Early on, everybody knows guys like JT, Cooper Kupp, Jefferson. Eckler, those are going to be big-time guys. I think you can get great value this year, late first round, in Dalvin Cook. I think you can get great value with Mixon in the late first round as well if you want to go running back from a wide receiver standpoint. I think Diggs is a great value. I actually have Diggs over Jamar Chase just because I know what his workload is going to be. DeAndre Swift, I think, is I think I like DeAndre Swift in the top of the second round. Some guys I'm fading. Fading Leonard Fournette. Didn't really like his conditioning. Has a young, hungry back on his heels. And when guys come into camp out of shape, sometimes that's not always the best thing in the world. So kind of fading Leonard Fournette right now. Who's somebody else I'm fading?
How do you feel about James Conner?
Man, love the guys that say what?
How do you feel about James Conner?
I'm not drafting James Conner this year.
My man, yeah.
I'm not drafting.
I mean,
James Conner is very injury prone. Had a lot of soft tissue injuries, shoulder injuries, and then on top of that, the Cardinals have one of the worst offensive rushing lines in the league, and I think he's a major candidate for touchdown regression. I'm not in the area that he goes. I'm not a fan. I take other guys. I want guys with higher upside or younger backs. But I'm also fading Nick Chubb for where he's going this year. I'm not really a Nick Chubb guy. And then I'm higher on certain guys. I'm really high on Travis Etienne. I'm really high on Breece Hall. So some of these guys I'm high on. I like A.J. Brown. I think Baker Mayfield is going to be really good for DJ Moore. I think he's going to be a value now in the 3rd round. Very high on Mike Evans. I think Mike Evans could be a top 7-ish wide receiver this year. I think that with Godwin going out. So there's some guys I like early on. Early on, the draft is really, really thick this year.
Yeah.
So, Brendan, I know that you had mentioned it's kind of where you're picking, but do you have a strategy? Like, are you somebody that takes a QB early? Do you wait until the later rounds? Do you take a tight end early? Do you stack running backs in the first couple rounds and go receiver?
Yeah, I normally like to be a late QB guy. I'm not going to wait like the 10th or 12th round, but I don't want to be the first guy taking the QB. I like to be somewhere, that's anywhere from about that 6th to 9th round, depending on what league I'm in. I like to jump in and get the value there. So I'm more of a late QB guy. And then every year just kind of differs for what my strategy is going to be. And this year I see a ton of really good running backs early. So I want to get 2 of my first 3 picks. I'd love to get backs, then get a power wide receiver. And then I like to hammer – in this year's draft, I want to hammer out wide receivers throughout the middle of the draft because it is chock full of guys that are wide receiver 2s with wide receiver 1 upside.
That's right. They call it right now the running back dead zone because you want to avoid running backs there and you want to try to draft wide receivers. And one player in that range I'm curious to hear your thoughts on, Brendan, is Michael Pittman Jr., who's been kind of one of the rising stars in the fantasy football community. He's entering year 3, and he actually was 3rd in routes run per dropback, only behind Cooper Kupp and Jamar Chase last year, 4th in contested catches, 8th in target share from weeks 13 through 18, and 88 catches for over 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns. May not seem glamorous, but he did that with Carson Wentz. And now you have Matt Ryan coming in there, who's definitely a step up, and he's good at hyper-targeting alpha wide receivers. Do you think Michael Pittman could be a back-end wide receiver 1 this year?
I like Michael Pittman, but I kind of never end up drafting him for where he goes because there's other guys that I like so much more than Michael Pittman. I think he's a very good wide receiver. I'm not sure with the Colts being so run dominant, everything being built around JT. Like Michael Pittman goes in the area where DJ Moore goes. So late third. So I'd be looking at DJ Moore. Or I like guys higher upside. I might take somebody like Mike Williams over him. I like Brandon Cooks over Michael Pittman, Terry McLaurin. So there's nothing wrong with Michael Pittman. He just in the area that he goes, I probably like 4 or 5 guys better than him.
So Brendan, you're on Twitter.
What do you guys? What do you guys think? What do you guys think about him? You guys are the experts.
I have Michael Pittman. I have to pull up my rankings right now. I have him as a high-end wide receiver 2. I have him, I think it's like wide receiver 15. And just for like we talked about, like I was saying, he's already on the field a ton. 3rd in routes run per dropback, had over 1,000 yards last year with Carson Wentz. And they were actually, the Colts were the 29th team out of 30 teams in 32 teams in pass play rate and 27th in pass attempts. So they basically they were at the bottom of every kind of passing attempt statistic. So I think they're going to step that up a little bit more with Matt Ryan being a capable quarterback. And that's going to allow Pittman to be able to get maybe closer to like 12 or 1,300 yards. Maybe he gets 8 or 9 touchdowns. And that definitely could put him as a wide receiver 1. I think he can get there. He's one of my breakouts this year for sure. But there's another player.
I could definitely see it though.
There's a couple others I wanted to real quick ask you about that are kind of trending around here. Another player that's kind of talked about a lot is Aaron Jones, who is already, ranked up decently high, but some have him as a locked top 5 running back this year. Is you look at that fact that he only had 7 finishes inside the top 10 last year, but he was 6th in running back receptions, 7th in targets. And they say when a number 1 alpha like Davante Adams goes, that target share, you may think it's going to be split between the wide receivers, but they say most of that split actually goes to the running back in most cases.
Right.
So his running back target share could go up even if A.J. Dillon gets more carries. What are your thoughts on Aaron Jones? Do you think he could take a leap not even a leap. He's been a top 5 running back 2 of the last 3 years, but is he slept on a little bit this year?
I think he's properly priced because there's a lot of risk. Because right now we're speculating on, a small sample size of what we saw with him without Davante Adams, and if that's the route that they're going to go. there's also a realm where A.J. Dillon gets more work. And I had Aaron Jones last year, and it was very frustrating to own him down the stretch because when the team was winning, he wasn't doing as well because they were hammering the ball down the stretch of games. They were up. Their defense is going to be even better than it was last year. So I think he's properly priced. I have no problem with somebody taking Aaron Jones where he's going in the second round, especially if you get a running back before him and he's more of your running back too. But when the Packers do well, look for Aaron Jones to do poorly in second halves of those games. Because when they're up in the fourth quarter, that's A.J. Dillon time. And we can actually see A.J. Dillon actually get more of the red zone work as well. Like if you had either one of these guys down the stretch last year, you understood that there was no guaranteed touch for your back. It was like, hey, whoever was in there, that's who was going to get the touch. So I think Aaron Jones is properly priced because there's risk. As much with Devontae Adams leaving, that creates a big-time passing window. But at the same time, if A.J. Dillon takes over more of the red zone work, that could actually mean a problem for Aaron Jones as well.
It's interesting. A year after having 16 rushing touchdowns, he regresses to 4. Maybe that's what we see similar to James Conner this year, as you referenced earlier. Brendan, I got to ask you, because you're on Twitter and you pay attention to fantasy football, the guy that is probably talked about the most this offseason is Gabe Davis. After his 8-catch, 201-yard, 4-touchdown game against the Chiefs. Now there's pro-team Gabe Davis, and there's anti-team Gabe Davis at his wide receiver ADP 25. Where are you?
Man, I'm anti. I like I said, I forgot who says this on Twitter, but they don't hate players, they hate ADPs. I just look at, I forget, one of the fantasy guys says that I forgot, I follow all of them. And so Gabe Davis, he has a ton of potential, but we have no idea what that's going to be. Like, I understood he had an incredible game against the Chiefs, but if you look back the game before that, like, I'm not sure if, like, oh my God, he was killing before that, like when they played the Patriots. So like it's just so iffy, and I understand that he has a chance to step into a major role, but Gabe Davis, he normally goes where, around what, about the 6th, 7th round?
Around there.
Yeah, I think right around there.
Man, there's a lot of big-time wide receivers going to that area that you know their role or that have probably a little bit higher upside. Like, are you going to take Gabe Davis or Drake London?
I'll take Drake London.
I'm gonna go with the upside of Drake. I'm gonna go with the upside of Drake London. Mm-hmm. Like that's the area where he's in. Or are you gonna go with Gabe Davis or Rashad Bateman?
Bateman.
That was a question the other day I saw, and I actually have Bateman higher too.
Rashad, let me see. Gabe Davis.
I like how he's asking us the questions now.
No. I mean, because these are like Gabe Davis or Allen Robinson.
Oh, Allen Robinson, easy.
Yeah, I'll take Allen Robinson.
So that's the problem with me. Gabe Davis goes in an area where I'm like, I like him, but there's so many other guys in that area that I feel a lot more confident in.
Ren, I gotta say, man, you are really into fantasy football. I figured you were, but it's really cool actually having these conversations with you and just seeing how much you're into it. It's pretty awesome, I have to say.
I gotta ask you.
Tell my wife that. Tell my wife that. She doesn't believe that it's awesome. She believes I have a problem, a sickness. Like the other day, she called me like, "Oh my God, Kevin Hart's coming to Charlotte, and we should go get some tickets." I quickly went to the phone and like, "Nah, babe, that's September 11th. That's a Sunday. Matter of fact, I think that's the first Sunday of the NFL season. I'm not going." So like she's like, "I can't believe you." So my wife hates that I love fantasy football this much.
Well, what you have to do is when you have winnings, you take her out to dinner, you buy her something. So the habit you have is benefiting her.
Yeah, she don't care.
My wife's the same way, so I totally get that. A couple questions I want to ask you. Obviously, we talked about some players. I got to ask you: are there certain podcasts that are your go-tos when you're listening for fantasy information?
Yeah. I listen to JJ Zachariason. I think he's really good. He gives you a lot of really good info, crunches numbers. Podfather, I listen to him. Mm-hmm. Who else?
Hopefully now Triple Play Fantasy maybe makes the rotation.
Triple. I just followed you guys the other day. I'm trying to think, who else do I listen to? I don't know why I can't think of these podcasts. I listen to them all the time. I have to.
Fantasy Footballers. You listen to them?
Not as much. I used to, but not as much. What's the guys from CBS?
Oh, Fantasy Football Today. Those guys are awesome.
Fantasy Football Today. I normally Fantasy Football Today, JJ Zacharyson, Pod 5. I normally stay in those. Those are probably my 3 top ones.
Good podcast for sure.
Rotation.
I got to ask you also, have you ever heard of the Scott Fish Bowl?
Yes, I hear people talk about it, but then they have all these weird ass rules, so it's hard for me to figure out what's going on in that league.
So there's already one NBA player, former NBA player that's in it, and Shane Battier, and he's a big fantasy football guy. He speaks at like the Podathon every year, and and he's a big part of it. I'm sure Scott Fish would love to have you. All the stuff goes to charity, and I think this year's gonna be 3,000 people competing. And
somebody just has to explain to me how it works, because like I see all different types of rules, different formats. Like it's not a regular format that I'm used to playing. So I would love to get in it. I just don't really know how it works.
Yeah, so pretty much the synopsis, and I know I'll miss a couple things, and I'll definitely I'll DM you like the full list, but it's pretty much, it's like a super flex league, 3rd round reversal. So what happens is, you go your snake draft where you do 1st through 12, and then you go 12 to 24. And then instead of the 24th picking twice, that second pick goes back to the beginning and they get their pick, if that makes sense. So it basically helps even it out. So that way, whoever picks earlier in the draft doesn't have as much an advantage over people that pick later in the draft.
Right.
And then it's
negatives for points or for sacks for quarterbacks, incompletions.
So it's if a quarterback is a very inaccurate quarterback, they'll actually lose points. So 66% completion percentage and above, you want those guys, or you want guys that are rushing.
Right.
So guys that throw a lot of picks are inaccurate. You don't obviously you wouldn't want. It's definitely like a weird set of rules. Kickers have more points this year, but he changes the scoring every year. That's what makes it really interesting.
Yeah, I got to check it out. But I hear a lot about it. Every podcast talks about the Scott Fish Bowl. It's obviously a big thing. When they start talking about all these different draft rules and stuff, I'm like, man, I don't really understand this league.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I'll definitely, when we're done, I'll send you the full list of like basically what the rule outline is. And if you're interested, I can even just DM Scott Fish and I'm sure he would love to have you be a part of it.
There's 100 spots left, so we got to make that push to get you in.
All right, man. Listen. Well, listen. Hey, make the push. Get your boy in there, and then y'all. I'm gonna have y'all help me draft it. I'm not familiar with that format.
You know what we could do is we'll do like a live draft party, and we'll just all draft. I think it's like July 11th is when the drafts start. So we'll just do like a draft party. Be like Brendan Haywood's on the clock. See who you pick. It's pretty dope.
Okay.
But yeah, Doc, I know there was a couple other questions we want to ask him before we let him go. I don't want to hold him up too long here.
So you've been playing fantasy football for a while, and we all have that one loss that stings with us that we never forget. What's yours?
Man, I was in the playoffs, and I want to say I was up like 80-something points going into Monday night with Dez Bryant to play. And this was – Dez obviously was one of the Cowboys. So Dez scores a touchdown early. I think I'm going to win this walking away. And the guy that I'm playing has like every single Bears player. So he has I think it's Jay Cutler, Matt Forte, the kicker, Alshon Jeffrey. So it looks like, there's no way he's going to get all these points. But that was the game where it was a Monday night game and the Bears didn't punt all game long. So he had the kicker too. So he got points every single possession, and he walked me down, and it was like bad. Dez Bryant didn't score like after the first quarter, and I lost that game in the playoffs. I was like, I cannot believe that. And the other one that haunts me is, date myself, back when I had Calvin. Did I have Calvin Johnson? Yes, I had Megatron. Remember that one year where they played in Philly, and they couldn't throw the ball, and it was like a big snowstorm?
Yeah.
And LaShawn McCoy went the hell off.
So
I had Calvin Johnson, and the other guy had LaShawn McCoy. So my best player couldn't score anything, and LaShawn McCoy had like 4 touchdowns. And I'm just like, this is so unfair. Like half my team's caught in a blizzard. There's like a huge blizzard on the East Coast. It was crazy.
Those are pretty bad losses. That Bears one, I actually felt like I felt like I lost that just listening.
Oh yeah.
I gotta ask too. I mean, I know you play with your friends. Do you play with any former teammates?
Let me see. I've had some leagues with some guys that not former teammates, but guys that I played in the league with. I was in a league with Ryan Hollins, Udonis Haslam. Who else was in that league?
Did you play with Kenny Thomas? He's big into fantasy football too.
Didn't know that. No, I didn't. Not Kenny Thomas. Julius Peppers is in my less football, but Julius Peppers is in the league.
That's cool.
Quentin Richardson. So I haven't like a lot of my team. Oh, Brandon, my former teammate Brandon Wright. How am I forget that? I'm in Brandon Wright to play the Carolina. I'm in his dynasty league. We talk every day. He's gonna be so offended that I forgot that I'm actually in his league. Like his league, they talk a lot of trash too. But so me and Brandon Wright were in the league as well.
We should have asked because we've had Steve Buckhantz and Antonio Daniels on before. We've meant to ask them. I don't think we didn't ask them if they did. I don't think either of them.
No,
played.
They didn't back in the day. If they would have, I would have known. So they didn't. Back when I was a part of the Wizards, neither one of those guys played fantasy football.
Yeah, they're missing out, man. They're missing out.
Yeah.
But Brendan, I don't want to keep you here too long, so we're gonna wrap up with a little triple play staple here. It's rapid fire. Okay. So I'm gonna ask you some weird questions, some basketball related, some non-basketball related. It's just the first one that comes to your mind. You game?
Let's go. Shoot.
All right. First question. Wear green every day for the rest of your life, or you got to eat 10 live spiders.
Wear green.
All right. Easy. All right. Pineapple on pizza. Yes or no?
No.
Crab dribble or crab dip?
Crab dip. I like crab dip.
Wizards gold uniforms are blank.
Fire.
What?
I knew you were going to say that.
You
the
like
gold and black? The gold and black? Oh, I love them uniforms, man. They're fire.
I was there the day that you guys unveiled them at like the little ceremony, and I was like, what?
Yeah, the gold and black fire had some good games in those. I like those.
I was going to say, is it because we showed you that big dunk against the Sixers when you're wearing the gold and black?
Yeah, man, I had some really good games in those. I like those uniforms.
I love it. Brendan Haywood goes to the line and shoots 10 free throws right now. What are you shooting?
50-50 because I ain't picked up a ball in 5 years.
Is the elbow going to be in or out?
Elbow got to be tucked in. I haven't picked up a ball in a long time. I'm like Anthony Davis.
I love it. Fantasy football or fantasy basketball?
Oh, fantasy football.
Did you play fantasy basketball at all?
No.
Oh, you have to.
It's a lot.
No.
It's a big commitment.
It's like I have some friends that do it, and it's so much turnover every day. I'm like, nah, I'm good. I got a 2-year-old. No.
What do you feel worse for? A Caron Butler straw or a Stephen Curry mouth guard?
Caron Butler straw. He used to kill that straw, man. At least the mouth guard gets a little bit of a break. It's on the front teeth. Like Caron had that straw. He'd be on the back of his teeth, man. Like, yo, you don't want to just chew like some gum? Like, we got gum over there, fam. But hey, it is what it is. He eats his own. Because he used to drink so much Mountain Dew, right? That was his way of getting off of it, right? Man, I have no idea, but that's my guy, Tough Juice, man. If he likes straws, I like straws.
He was the man. I loved watching him play.
Yeah.
Rip your pants on set or accidentally drop an F-bomb on TV?
I'll rip my pants, man. If I drop an F-bomb, then I got to deal with my mom, man. So my mom, she would be so disappointed in me if I did that. So I'll rip my pants.
All right, last one for you. I feel like you had half your career with a headband and the other half without a headband. What do you prefer?
Got to go headband. Headband Haywood won a championship, so I got to go with the headband.
Wait, I
love
got
it.
one more.
Gotta love how I talk about myself in the third person. Headband Haywood. Gotta love it.
You might be the only person that wore 00 and regular 0. Which one are you picking?
I never wore the regular 0.
You didn't wear regular 0?
Like he wore 00 and 33.
I thought you had 0 also.
I never had 0, but I sold 0 to Gilbert Arenas because back then you couldn't wear 00 and 0. It was a weird NBA rule. So when he went to the team, I had to sell him my number because you could for some strange reason you couldn't have. So they couldn't have 0 and 00. It was something about when they would call fouls, it would confuse the people at the scores table. But that was the rule. So yeah, I never wore 0. My first number was 3. Sold that to Juan Dixon. Came back, wore 00. Sold that to Gilbert Arenas, and then I ended up with 33.
You made a nice profit off of selling numbers.
Oh, especially when I sold it to Gilbert Arenas. Gilbert had a little bit more money than Juan.
I love it, man. Brendan Haywood, 14-year NBA pro. You see him on
Hey,
TV
I got a quick question for you guys though.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
In my home league, I got the #1 pick. Do I go JT or do I go CMC now that Baker Mayfield's there?
This is PPR, right?
PPR, do I take the safety of JT or do I go upside of CMC?
I go JT. But I don't hate the idea of taking Justin Jefferson #1.
Nah, that's being that's being tricky, Doc.
I don't know. You get a lot of good running back value in the 2-3 turn. I'll feel it.
I think if it's between those two, I gotta go the safe route and go JT. But I can't hate if you take CMC. I just think 2 big injuries over the last 2 years with the #1 pick, it's hard to invest that type of capital with a guy that hasn't stayed healthy.
You also then have to reach for Chuba Hubbard as a handcuff.
There's no
might even be Deontay Foreman.
It'll probably be Deontay Foreman. I think you're with. See, Brendan, you are plugged in, man. This is. I hope we can do this again sometime because this has actually been one of my favorite.
Panthers GM lives in my neighborhood, so I know everything about the Panthers. I live
Brendan,
in Charlotte, man.
I can't tell you how much we appreciate, not just because we watched you play and just enjoyed watching you in the NBA, but talking fantasy football with you has been a real treat for us. So thank you so much, man. We appreciate it.
Anytime. Appreciate you guys for having me. I'm going JT #1, and if I lose my league and that pick doesn't work out or CMC's better, I'm talking trash to y'all on Twitter for the rest of the time. It's going to be straight slander every time. If I lose my league because of this pick, it's going to be straight slander every time y'all post.
You know what? We'll do what you did at North Carolina, and we'll block.
Oh, wait. That's pretty good. Hold on, wait. Before you go, I got to say, there's one player I'm going to stick my name to right now as a later round pick that I think if you draft him and he does something for your team, we got to do something like a live draft party. Like next year, like we fly into Charlotte and we do like a live draft party or something. One of the guys that's getting slept on right now, Ronald Jones, Brendan Haywood. I know the fumbles are there. He's going to be the best running back in Kansas City this year.
I have a hard time trusting Ronald Jones because he has the trifecta of demons for a running back. He can't pass protect, he can't catch, and he fumbles. If you can't protect Mahomes, you can't protect the ball, and you can't be his safety valve, I just feel at some point you're going to lose that job.
He's going to be the first and second down back, and CEH will be more pass catching, but he averages over 5 yards per carry in his career. He's going to a new head coach that he's not in Bruce Arians' doghouse anymore, and I think he's getting him at like pick 124, so he doesn't hurt you at that point, really. Like he's like a 10th or 11th round pick. He's somebody that I think could be a potential, like, I don't want to say he's a league winner, but this year I'm taking him as much as I can. Him and Sky Moore. I'm a big Chiefs fan. Those have been the 2 most amount of Chiefs I've been drafting this year.
I can see it. So Ronald Jones is on the clock and Damian Pierce is on the clock from the Houston Texans. Who you taking?
Taking Rojo. Taking Rojo.
What about the guy the rookie from Atlanta?
Tyler Algier.
Algier, yeah.
I'm still going Rojo. I mean, that offense in Atlanta is going to be awful.
Hey man, I'm just throwing stuff out there. I'm a roll with you. So late in the draft, I'm gonna take Rojo, and if it works, I'm gonna give you guys praise. And if it doesn't, I'm gonna tell my friends it's y'all fault.
If it works, we're flying down there for a draft day party next year.
Oh, for sure. We should do like a draft day party in like Vegas. That's my big thing. Like me, all my friends, we go out to Vegas, rent like a mega suite, and have like a huge draft day party. Let's do it big, man. We're gonna do it. Let's do it big.
Brendan, I'm already making the reservations right now. This is going to happen. I love it. I love it.
If you go big or go home.
Rojo and Sky Moore, both of those. Take those guys later on, Brendan, and then we're going to party with the winnings next year.
All right, that's the plan, man. Thanks for having me, guys.
Right.
Appreciate it, fellas.
Thanks, Brendan. See ya.
All right.